everybody. Welcome to That Don't Romance Me Much.
Hi.
I guess we'll introduce ourselves again. I don't know. We haven't done that in a while, but I'm Jane.
And I'm Amy.
And today we're going to be talking about Take a Hint, Dani Brown by Talia Hibbert. We're also going to be talking about Get a Life, Chloe Brown, which is the first in the series a little bit, but we're going to be focusing mostly on Dani's story. Amy, do you want to give like a synopsis of what happens in Dani's book?
Sure. So Dani is, I think, a doctoral candidate in I don't know, a sociology, women's focus type.
Yeah, I thought it was like literature.
Okay,
I
sure.
don't know.
Anyway, so she's that. And Zaf is a security guard slash ex rugby player, and they're like friends, but Dani is like not into relationships at all, just like only casual sex. And she's bisexual, and she just like at the beginning of the book, the woman she is seeing wants to be something more, and she's like, no thanks, and they break up. So yeah,
And Zap is the opposite of that. Zap is like, I'm a one woman man. I'm very sensitive, and I can't do casual sex without falling in love, basically.
Yes. And so there's like this scene where there's a drill, a fire drill or something, and Dani gets stuck in the elevator, and like Zaf rescues her and carries her out in his arms. And somebody like takes a video or a picture of it, and then like they create this hashtag
Dr. Rugby. Yeah.
And then that becomes really popular. And also Zaf has a nonprofit that like really helps out. So then they decide to be in a fake relationship.
Right.
So
that obviously turns into more.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. So I guess the first question is, what did you think of the fake relationship viral video aspect of this book?
I mean, I love a good fake relationship. I thought the reason for this was dumb.
Right. Okay. So I feel like usually when there's a fake relationship, I guess more of like a reason why it actually has to be fake, and like they can't actually hook up, and like kissing is forbidden and whatever. They always like make those rules, like we're only allowed to kiss in public, and we're that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And this didn't have any of that. It was fake only in that Dani refused to like say the words, "You're my boyfriend."
Yeah.
But aside from that, it was like pretty much just a real relationship the whole time, because they were hooking up in private and then like going to lunch together.
Well, I mean, to be fair,
relationship.
To be fair, they didn't start by hooking up, I guess.
I guess that's true. But they did pretty quickly, I feel like.
Yeah.
And there wasn't like there was no conflict around the fake relationship part of it, I feel like.
Yeah, I also thought it was just kind of silly because like, so one of the things is that like Zaf doesn't, and there's like he has a very tragic past, and he doesn't want like to bring like the press or whatever into his life again. And so that's why he doesn't talk about his past as a professional rugby player as part of this like nonprofit that he's doing. And so then when this happens, I guess that gets him good, but like he could still just like, they could not pretend to be together, and he could just talk about it and it would still get the same result, I think.
Yeah.
And so I also thought that was a little
I also feel like it was far-fetched that like, yes, I believe that a video like the first video could have gone viral, but I don't think anybody after that would have cared about them eating lunch together in the cafeteria or anything. Like, I don't think.
Right. Yeah. They are like paparazzi, like following them around. It's very weird.
Yeah. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. Obviously, I've never had anything go viral. So maybe there is a long tail of people really caring about that, but
I doubt it.
I just felt like, who cares? Especially, it wasn't like they were staging other exciting things. It was literally just them eating lunch together or talking in the library or whatever. Like, it was not.
I mean, he is like famous, I guess. So maybe I think that's supposed to be part of it. But Yeah, I agree. I felt like that was, I think, the most unbelievable part of this book.
Yeah. Yes. I guess aside from that, aside from the plot, basically, I really enjoyed. I
Yeah, me
really
too.
enjoyed the book. I think Talia is a great writer. She's so funny.
Yeah.
I was just remembering as you were going through the synopsis about Annie's like mental freak out in the elevator when she's stuck.
Oh, yeah.
I laughed out loud so hard during that scene. She was convinced that there were these like poisonous gases. Because I guess the building that she works in is like a science building that does have a lot of, dangerous chemicals in it. But so she thought some of those had escaped and she was going crazy. And it was just a really funny
It was really funny.
scene.
Yeah.
There were a lot of really funny scenes in this because Talia is just really funny, I feel like. Yeah.
I agree. She's very funny. And it was just like a very fun book, I thought.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. We read this right, or at least I read this right after finishing what is it called again? Midnight Sun.
Yeah.
Which is the exact opposite. It's horrible writing, so dark and depressing, and like just like weighed on my soul so heavily. So reading this was like the perfect counterbalance and brought me back to life after reading Midnight Sun.
I feel like I read them both at the same time. And then, which basically just meant I didn't read any Midnight Sun and I just read this entire book. So it's not the smartest idea, but it was way more fun than reading Midnight Sun.
Yeah. So what did you think of Dani?
I liked Dani a lot. I mean, I thought she was really fun. I liked that she was like gonna be a professor, and like I liked how excited she was about her her idol is like one of the like not very many Black female professors in Britain, I think. And so like that was really cool. Yeah, I liked her. What did you think?
I mean, I it's always hard to not compare it to the other books in the series. So I did like her, and obviously I really enjoyed the book, but I definitely liked Chloe more than I liked Dani.
Yeah.
I think I totally agree. Like I think it was awesome that she was this like kick-ass professor and she's super smart and all that stuff. I felt to me she was kind of a workaholic and I don't identify with that really at all. Like I can't understand people who are like so ambitious that their whole life they're willing to like sacrifice everything else in their life for this like goal. So that was a little bit hard, but I actually really liked that she was very like analytical and smart, but then she liked her kind of ancestral spiritual side of her family, and she kind of really believed in all that, which I thought that was a good that made her more of like a well-rounded person to me and more interesting.
Yeah, I agree. I didn't love her hang up about being in relationships though. Oh, sorry. That's not I don't know. Or should we talk about Zeph first before we talk about this?
No, I think we should definitely talk about this. I totally got it.
Yes. I guess okay, sorry, you go ahead. Different.
No, finish your thought. Go ahead.
Well, it's not that I don't understand that people have these hangups, and I don't believe that she could have the hangup. I just like I don't know. I'm not. I feel like the way that this played out, I don't know. But you talk.
Okay. I totally got it. Her hang up was that she didn't believe anybody would want to be in a relationship with her because she is so work focused, and she didn't think she could find anybody who would like accept that side of her or accept her fully, because she had a bad experience with a previous boyfriend, and he was basically like, nobody's going to ever want to be with you if you're like this. And she refused to change. So she assumed nobody wanted to be with her. So I thought that made sense.
Yes.
To me. I think maybe the part that was not great was like the ending where she was like, "Oh, actually, I'm over this now, and I
Yes,
want to be."
that's kind of what I'm trying to say. Yes.
I agree that wasn't done as well. Like that growth just kind of like snapped on, and it wasn't as clear as to why she was like, "Okay, I'm okay with this now."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, that's what I'm trying to say. Not that like she shouldn't have had these hangouts, or I can't understand why she had them, but it just like she really got over it very quickly.
Yes. I agree.
Yeah.
I think that was another thing that I didn't. There was I don't know. We've talked about the plot already, I guess, but it's basically like there just wasn't the plot didn't make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
It was almost there, but it wasn't quite there.
Yeah.
And this is definitely one of those examples. But the other thing about it is that like I don't think I would want to be in a relationship with Dani. I wouldn't want to be in a relationship with somebody who puts work above everything else.
I agree. I mean, yes, I feel like I'm also not like that person, and I feel like it would be really hard to be with somebody like I'm all like, of course it's great to like support like your partner and whatever they do and like whatever they're passionate about, but I think that is a thing that I would have trouble, like I don't think I could be in that, like I couldn't support that interest. I think I think I would have a hard time.
So I could see how a lot of her past experiences would have led her to believe that she wasn't, relationship material or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about Zaf. What did you think?
I really liked Zaf. He was so nice.
I loved Zaf too.
Yeah.
I feel like she writes. I mean, okay, we've only read Chloe Brown and Dani Brown, but I feel like in both of them have these very unrealistic, amazing guys in them that you're just like, okay, so you're just perfect. There's really nothing wrong with you. And Zaf, I feel like it's even more perfect than Brett was.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I feel like, and he like didn't like, I feel like we both just talked about how like her being a workaholic would bother us, and like he was like, yeah, like whatever, like who cares.
Yeah, and he was like, I agree that being in a relationship means that you shouldn't have to change with that person, you just like grow together or whatever, and like that's a great sentiment, but I don't think a lot of people would have that sentiment. Also, his life's passion is like removing toxic masculinity from sports great. I agree. We do need less toxic masculinity in the world in general, but like, could he be more perfect?
Right.
I don't
know. Okay, this is not a Talia Hibbert book, but what did you think about this compared to like how they talk about toxic masculinity as men compared to the bromance, especially the second bromance book club, Undercover Bromance? Like I feel like they both do it, but I thought this did it better. I don't know.
Yeah, I had that same thought. I think when we talked about Bromance Book Club, we talked about how it's kind of like preachy, and it's much more like that one is more, I'm just going to lecture at you about why these things are bad, and this is more showing than preaching, I guess.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I agree.
I think like Zaf's biggest problem was that he has an anxiety disorder, like triggered by some of his family members dying, and so he like gets very worried about things. Like I'm sure it's like a bigger deal to than that, but that is, I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like right, like I feel like it's not like a flaw. It's like something they have to live with, but it's not like, it doesn't make him a bad boyfriend. He's still a great boyfriend. I'm sure like it's really hard for him, but it's not like, I don't know. what about, I mean, I guess you could also say like a flaw, at least for Dani, is that he wants to be in a relationship, even though then she wanted to be in a relationship and they are in a relationship. So I guess that was a part where they would maybe be incompatible, but clearly it worked out.
Yeah. Yeah, I will say I think I mentioned this at least when we talked about Want to Watch. Like, I think it would have been cool if by the end of this, their happily ever after wasn't we're in this monogamous relationship and we're gonna get married and just like have a regular relationship. It was like, oh, we're gonna be in an open, we're gonna have a different kind of relationship that suits us perfectly.
But do you think Zaf would, like, an open relationship would work for Zaf? It does not feel like that.
Yeah, no. But I don't know that I don't feel like it really works for Dani, you know?
That's fair.
So maybe not like exactly an open something that wasn't just the standard would have been interesting to see. And this would have been the opportunity to do it, I think. But it was
I agree.
Not taken.
It was not taken.
Yeah.
I had two thoughts, but I can only remember one of them.
Okay.
What did you think? So, I remember. So I'll talk about this one so I don't forget it. But did you find it weird that they did not, like, I know they, like, most of the stuff about like Zaf's history was like his family members dying and like this rugby stuff, but they didn't talk at all about any previous relationship he had been in. Did you think that was weird? I thought that was weird.
Now that you bring it up, I guess I do think it's weird, but as I was reading it, I didn't really, it didn't even occur to me.
Okay, interesting. I feel like there was one point where they like mentioned that he had like a past relationship, and I was like, why don't we know more about this? Like, does he not have any baggage from previous relationships at all that we need to talk about? I don't know. I thought that was like, I was surprised, like, especially with the family stuff, like maybe his girlfriend, like, or even before the family stuff, like really like was into his fame or something, and then didn't support him but that just like didn't happen.
I think that would have been a good plot line, but that would have made him less trusting and less perfect, I think. Yeah. And Talia didn't want to make him less perfect.
Clearly not. Yeah. Okay, my other point is I can't remember the woman that Dani was dating before she met Zaf. Do you remember her name?
No.
Okay. Well, anyways, so she broke up with her because she didn't want to be in a relationship. And then at the end, they have a scene where they're like, we're going to be friends now, which is great.
Yeah.
But it was unclear to me. I feel like I was not, like, if she had worked through this like relationship issue, would she have been equally as happy with this woman as she was with Zaf? Or
I did have that same thought of like, oh, she said no to so many relationships in the past. She didn't even give them a chance to blossom, really. Yeah. And now she's like willing to open her heart. But I think what we're supposed to take out of that is that like Zaf is the reason she's willing to do this, and she wouldn't be willing to do it for anyone else.
Yeah. Probably. I think you're right that that's what we're supposed to take away. I just don't know that I was like convinced.
Yes, I agree. I wasn't really convinced by that. If I were the person that she had broken up with, I would have asked that question.
Yeah.
Probably, but
yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like we're making it sound like it wasn't. I still like really liked it. I couldn't stop reading it. I thought it was really fun.
It was really fun. And I mean, just because Zaf is unrealistically perfect doesn't mean we didn't really enjoy reading about an unrealistically perfect boyfriend. Yeah. So, yeah, I don't know. I definitely enjoyed reading about Zaf. And, like everything we uncover about him, we're just like, oh, that's great. That's amazing. Why don't you exist in real life?
Yeah.
So that was good. But I liked the Chloe book overall more. I would say. But I feel like you were not super into the Chloe book. So.
I mean, I liked Chloe Brown. I feel like I would have liked it more if I had read it instead of listening to the audiobook. I feel like I didn't love the narrator, and I think that made me like it less.
Okay. Okay, so with Dani Brown, you read it and didn't listen to the audiobook? Okay.
I specifically read it because I didn't want the same thing to happen.
Yeah. I did a combination of reading and listening. I think it was the same narrator. I don't really remember. We can look that up later if anybody's interested. But I enjoyed the narrator both times.
Yeah. So. I just felt like she sounded like an old lady, and I had trouble like getting past that.
Yeah. I do remember thinking that with Chloe Brown. I don't remember thinking that with Dani, but that might be because I was already used to who it was.
Yeah.
But it also might have been a different person. So
you told me it was the same person.
Oh, okay, great. So then it was. So I think I just got used to it with Dani.
Okay.
Or I got used to it by the end of Chloe. And so
that makes sense.
But yeah, I think Chloe to me was a more relatable character, even though she has this disease that I'm just like mind-boggling. Like, how can anybody survive with this disease? And like, it's amazing that she does. But I felt like she was more relatable. Maybe she was more like nerdy in our way of being nerdy, I guess. Like Dani was definitely very nerdy, but more academically nerdy. Whereas Chloe likes video games and that kind of nerdy. So I just felt more connected to Chloe. And Red was also very perfect.
Yeah.
But he had a little bit of like a bad boy vibe, I feel like. And I did like that.
I feel like Zaf could have used like a little bit of like an edge or something.
Yes, I agree.
And I feel like she did a good job with Red to have him like have something.
Yes, I agree. I think that made, like, comparing the steaminess levels of the two, I felt like the sexual tension between Chloe and Red was definitely higher than the sexual tension between Dani and Zaf.
Yeah, I also feel like Dani and Zaf, I don't know, like there was sexual tension, but I feel like it was like obviously we're just gonna like have sex, if that makes sense. Like it wasn't like we were wondering if it would happen or not. We just knew it would happen.
Right.
It just was like, would it happen in the right way or whatever?
Right. Exactly.
Leading to a relationship. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that kind of goes back to like, we're not a huge fan of the friends to lovers.
Yeah. I feel like that's the real problem.
We much prefer them to start out hating each other and have to learn to love each other than they're already friends and then nothing happens. Basically, like they just have to decide to be more than friends.
Right. Right. Yeah. I'm sure there are good friends to lovers books.
Yeah, I'm sure there is.
I just felt, but I feel like you need like a little bit more attention than this one had.
Yeah.
Even though it's still really good. I mean, I rated it 4 stars on Goodreads.
I rated both Chloe and Dani 4 stars, but I think really Chloe is like 4.5 stars. I did like Chloe more.
Yeah, that's fair. And Chloe was like so silly, like the quote that we just posted, like what a like I don't know.
It was
so good.
More fun to be in Chloe's brain, I think, than Dani's brain.
Yeah.
Something I did want to talk about was, did you read the acknowledgments at the end of Dani Brown?
I don't think so. I usually do, but I don't remember them if I did.
Okay, hold on. I'm gonna pull it up really quickly.
Okay, cool.
And read it. Okay, I'm just gonna read the first part of it, which is, this book had teeth and it sucked me dry. I flatter myself that it's a fairly funny read, but imagine me crying and bleeding for every line of witty sarcasm, and you'll get the picture. I couldn't have produced this bad boy without all the support I received from the lovely people in my life. She also, I think she says that she rewrote it 3 times. somewhere in this. And so when I read that, I was like, oh, I get it. Like, that's why the plot isn't as buttoned up, I think, as the Chloe plot was. And probably why we didn't like it as much as the Chloe plot.
Yeah.
Or, just overall the Chloe book.
Yes, I agree. I feel like I do remember reading this now that you read it to me, and I do think you're right. I mean, did you read Amy Poehler's book?
Yeah.
Okay, well, like the first 15 minutes of the audiobook is her talking about how she didn't want to write the book, and you can tell the whole book. And this one is definitely not that bad, but it is like I do think you're right that when I read that, I was like, okay.
Yes.
Yeah, it clicked into place a little bit. Yeah.
And I know Talia's written way more than just this series, so it's not like Dani Brown was her second ever book. But I feel like I am noticing a trend that for an author that we really like the first book that we read, we always don't like the second book as much.
What other authors are you?
Well, I'm Sally Thorne. Yeah. Which I know that's not a series, like they're completely different books, but and I think the second one was her second ever book.
Yeah.
So I think that's partly before they get a book deal, they've had so much time to improve and think about this idea, and then they're like, oh, now we want you to write another one out of nowhere, and they don't have as much time to ruminate. But that's definitely not the case with Talia. This is not Talia's second book ever, but
I do want to try one of her other series and see
I'm a little bit well, maybe we should just read Talia Hibbert books from now on.
I mean, I'd definitely read another one soon because I don't know. They've both been really fun.
Yeah. If anybody is watching, comment down below on which Talia Hibbert book you recommend for us to read next. The one that comes to mind is the first Ravenswood book. Because I think that main character is going to be similar to Chloe. She's she's nerdy and into comic books and
Cool. I think that's the one. I guess I checked one out from the library a while ago that I have on my Kindle. I think it's that one.
Okay. I do remember it was on one of those Goodread romance lists.
I'm sure that's why I checked it out.
Yeah.
But I guess I literally forgot it was on there until I was searching for something.
Okay. Well, if you have it checked out from the library, that means I can read it too, right?
Well, no, I checked it out probably 2 years ago or something.
Oh, so you've returned it since then. Okay, got it.
Yeah. So, sorry.
That's okay. We will find a way to read it if we want to read it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think we will definitely be reading more Talia Hibbert books. And I already pre-ordered Act Your Age, Eve Brown. I know I probably shouldn't have my hopes too high, but Eve is my favorite of them. The fact that she always gets the words wrong, I just find that so funny. And they're like, oh, I think you mean apostrophe or something, and they're like, and she's like, no, I don't. I just find that so funny, and I'm very excited for a whole book of that.
Yeah, I think it'll be really fun, and the plot sounds really fun. I think it'll be really good. Yeah, I'm excited.
And she's also the youngest one, right? So I'm always partial to the youngest siblings.
I'm partial to the oldest siblings. So.
Well, I mean, in this series, I'm partial to the oldest one too, so.
But you haven't read.
Eve Brown comes out. Yeah.
Yes, right. And neither of us are middle siblings, so.
Right.
Can't relate to that.
Yeah. I think it is good that Dani didn't have any kind of middle sibling syndrome.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I definitely agree. And I feel like their relationships are good. I like them as they're fun as sisters to read about.
What did you think of the parts? I know we kind of wrapped up already talking about this, but what did you think of the parts where we got to see Chloe and Red together in Dani's book?
I liked them. I thought they were fun.
I know, I really liked them.
Yeah.
And it was just like really exciting to get to see them still being together and like having their same old banter back and forth. And
I feel like that's the best part, or not the best part of reading a series maybe, but like a very fun part of reading a series if they do it well. And I think that they did, or she did.
Yeah I agree.
Anything else that we should say? Okay, should we do what we're currently reading?
Sure.
Okay, do you want to go first?
Sure. I'm curious what you're going to say as you're currently reading.
Okay, that's why I wanted you to go first.
Okay. I'm reading the Guernsey Literary and Potato Pie Society.
I forgot about that.
Because Amy won't shut up about it.
I'm worried you're not going to like it as much as I do.
I am probably not going to like it as much as you do, but it's a pretty quick read. I'm already, let's see, I'm already 50% of the way through the book. Okay. I will definitely finish it. And it is really interesting. Like, I'm not really sure about the romance aspect.
Yeah, I mean, this is also a complaint that Mary had, my sister had, is that like it doesn't really have that much romance.
Okay, yeah. So
but in my mind, it had lots of romance. So I guess I'm just misremembering. So I'm sorry.
I mean, I'm 50% of the way through. I assume Dawsey is the love interest, right? Okay. So there has thus far been no romance, but
okay. Well, then maybe you should also not think about it as a romance.
Okay. I'm thinking about it more as like a really interesting snapshot in a time period that you don't really hear about that often, which is the like post, like right after the war, the World War II. I think we often hear about, World War II itself and what it's like to live through the war. And then sometimes a little bit about like the reconstruction after, but this is, I didn't know a lot about that time, especially in Europe. I feel like when we do learn about it, at least in the US, we learn about what it was like in the US, but so I'm definitely finding it very interesting.
Yeah. Okay.
Just don't go in with your hopes.
Okay. I'm sorry about the romance. I should have warned you, especially after Mary said that. So sorry.
It's okay.
Oops.
I'm curious how they're gonna do them. I'm definitely gonna watch the movie after I finish it.
The movie's not as good.
I feel like how could it be any like, I don't know. I guess the Love Rosie movie is good, but it's literally just letters back and forth to people. So
I feel like
I'm not sure how they're gonna do a movie about this, but
the Love Rosie movie I thought was way better.
Yeah.
Than the book.
Yeah, so it is possible to do it, I guess. It just sounds like they didn't.
I mean, maybe you'll disagree with me. I'm curious to hear your thoughts on both things. I do feel like maybe the movie is more romance focused. Okay. But I also really thought the book was a romance, so apparently I'm in the minority. Okay, should I talk about what I'm reading?
Yeah, tell us what you're reading.
Okay, so I'm like 30 minutes into Real Fake Love. I just started.
You've broken up for me.
Oh no.
You're completely frozen. I really want to know what Amy's reading.
I can hear you. Can you not hear me?